I'd like to call to order the Washington Township School Board meeting for June 4th, 2025. For the record, let's show four board members are present. One is on the way, so we'll have a quorum today. For right now, we always start our board meetings out with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you all stand and follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. First item on our agenda tonight is June recognitions. Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, President Turner, Dr. Woodson, members of the board. Good evening, Washington Township School community. We have several recognitions here this evening. I'd like to start off by inviting Travis Darden Jr. up to stand near Dr. Woodson. Is Travis in the room? All right. So congratulations to Mr. Darden, who has been nominated. He's been nominated to attend the Congress of Future Medical Leaders, an honors-only program for high-achieving high school students aspiring to careers in medicine, medical research, or engineering. His nomination, signed by Nobel Prize winner Dr. Mario Capecchi, recognizes his academic excellence, leadership potential, and dedication to serving humanity. During the three-day Congress, Travis will join top students from across the country to hear from Nobel laureates, medical school deans, and pioneering researchers, gaining valuable insights into the future of medicine and medical technology. Congratulations, Mr. Darden. Very proud for you. Like to invite up next our West Lane Middle School Bluettes. There's a lot of them here tonight. Mr. Ambrosen. Mr. Ambrosen's going to help me recognize all of these students. The Bluettes won first place in the Kings Island Show Choir competition on Saturday, May 10th. You want to read their names? I'll have him introduce them.
I will read the list of all invited. Sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's my first board meeting, y'all. Thank you. I appreciate it. Adia Caricature, Alexandra La, Aaliyah Bardwell, Ari Davis, Ashley Taylor, Ava Sneed, Brenna Totten, Disney Mickens, Hannah Greenwalt, Jalea Green, Jordan Cassell, Juliet Thorpe, Cadence Turrentine, Casey Wheeler, Logan Sweat, Labra Schmid, Marley Deacon, Mary Kleeman, Mila Albright, Natalie Trulio Magdaleno, Nola Johnson, Olivia Fields, Rachel Zorn, Rakia Robinson, Reed Showalter, Riley Cooper, Rose Tuttle, Scout Mann, Sydney Smith, Tania Jones, Wellesley Wayman, and Zoe Harris.
Way to go, Bluettes. Congrats again. Would all of our outstanding K-12 music educators please join Dr. Woodson at this time? We are proud to recognize the exceptional work of our K-12 music teachers and directors whose dedication passion, and commitment to excellence in music education have earned national recognition. Their efforts, along with the district's strong support of the arts, have led to Washington Township Schools being named one of the best communities for music education by the NAM Foundation, a prestigious honor awarded to districts that demonstrate outstanding achievement in providing music access and education to all students. We'd like to recognize Kathleen Krupa, Mary Beth Smith, Julie Snyder, Laura Rouse, Blake Bush, Michelle Brinkman, Jordan Locke, Jennifer Rowe, Richard Ambrosen, Director May, Intinyare Mirati, Laura Vanderhagen, Jacqueline Darbrow, Jessica Savage, David Ebersol, Carolyn Stahlcup, Elisa Knoll, Adam Klettinger, Andrew Brinkman, Elizabeth Morrison, Elliot Lentz, Jared McElroy, Daria Weingardner, and Rick Granlund. Congratulations again. Is Mr. Matt Doss with us? We'd like to invite him up at this time. Mr. Matt Doss, please join Dr. Woodson. Congratulations goes to Mr. Doss, West Lane Middle School teacher, for being chosen as one of the final nominees to appear on the field May 17th at Victory Field as part of the Indianapolis Indians Teacher Appreciation Night. Congratulations to Mr. Doss for this recognition as part of Central Indiana's Teachers Making a Difference. Mr. Tom McKean, please join Dr. Woodson. Please join me in congratulating Mr. Akeem, Principal, Northview Middle School, on being named District 7 Principal of the Year. As principal, As principal of Northview Middle School, Mr. Akeem is celebrated for his student-centered leadership, high expectations, and commitment to a positive, engaging school culture. And I'll just say awesome school culture. I'll just say that. Mr. Akeem, we are very proud of you. Thank you for representing the very best in educational leadership here in Washington Township. Very well deserved. We'd like to recognize and thank the sponsors for their invaluable support for the 2025 W Awards held on May 23rd. Their contributions help make this special event a success. We're going to call it not special event. We're going to call it a party. That's what we're going to start calling it. This party a success in celebrating the outstanding staff achievements within our school community. We gratefully acknowledge the support of the following sponsors. So first up, Sullivan Commercial, Mr. Scott Rogers. If you are here, please come on up. Herf Jones, Mark Hudson. Come on up. Thank you, Herf. The Washington Township Schools Foundation, Miss Emily Kaiser. Empower Financial Services, Martin Gomez. Everwise Credit Union, Taya Bynum and Leslie Green. We know Bose, McKinney, and Evans couldn't be here this evening, but a special thanks to them. And then as well, finally, College Football Playoff Foundation for the Honored Schools program, with appreciation to Laura Cantrell and Margaret Frank for their continued partnership as well. We extend our heartfelt thanks to each sponsor for their commitment to excellence in education and their investment in our students, staff, and community. Thanks for being here tonight. That concludes our board recognition, with the exception of one more very special recognition, and I'll turn that over to you, President Turner.
Nope, I don't think I needed that. So it's not often the board actually gets a chance to recognize as well. We love seeing recognition night, all the people in the district. This is a special night. This is the last school board meeting for outgoing superintendent, Dr. Nikki Whitman. Those that know or don't know, she hates this. But we're taking it as a privilege of the moment. They can go through it. So we'd like to have each board member that would like to say something to Dr. Whitson, and then I'll wrap it up.
Too far away.
Okay, thank you so much for your passion and your dedication to public education. Thank you so much for making sure that this school system is on the cutting edge of all practices to make everything better for our kiddos. That takes a lot of perseverance, leadership, and patience. So thank you for that. But honestly, actually, from an internal perspective, thank you for accommodating this transition. You have made it so smooth and seamless, and it will have no impact on our students, hopefully not on faculty or administration. It's just been a lovely thing to be a part of. But mostly we just thank you for all your years. Thank you, Joseph. They always make fun of me because I don't talk so loud, so I'm shouting at you guys. So my thank you comes really deep and from years ago. We didn't know that our youngest son was special needs, and we just enrolled him in Cricket Creek like normal kindergartner, not knowing I'm gonna cry because story is great. But he was the youngest person in the building, and we didn't know that he had sensory process. And 2 weeks had gone by, and we were just having such a rough time. And she was just there as, you know, a parent checking on her own kids who were new to the Compass program, et cetera. And she saw frustration in her mom's face. And I was like, yeah, I just have to enroll him. And she goes, no, we're not doing that. We're going to make him love school. And he's now a freshman in the top 25 and excelling at North Central. And that's because he wouldn't let us give up. And that's what I love about you. Just don't give up. You make sure that every child has what they need. And I just think you, I know my husband thanks you. We just, we're going to be well, that's what the follow. Final story, and please forgive my tardiness. Those of you who know me know it's not a people party, but in this case, my cat decided to bring a rabbit into the house. So that took a minute. You know, okay, everybody's fine. And there was some chasing. Okay, so on that note, I think I just wanted to focus on that was really, you know, where we worked together the most over the years. And I think it's become it's been so many years now of all the construction and all the projects that I think we forget how audacious those back to back, you know, 4 years apart referendum really were. And I want to that's what I wanted to focus on is, you know, the leadership it took to say, we're going to try this, we're going to do this, and then say, you know what, we undershot the first time, do it again. But you know, again, as the construction is almost finished, you know, we've got so many rededications, I think it's become easy for us to forget, like, this is not a normal thing. This is not something all school districts get to do. This is not something all school districts have the leadership and community support and all those things in place that can make it happen. So, I mean, I will, every time, my daughter's at North Central too, as you know, and like when I drive by the big NC on the new entrance every day on 86, it's like, oh, that's it. I mean, even one night I was driving by and like, so good with the lights on,
I took a picture and I posted on Instagram. I was like, North Central, so good tonight. But all that to say, that is something I will always associate with. Every time I see that beautiful building, every time people rave about the facilities, that is such a lasting impact that's gonna last, honestly, after none of us are returned. That's still gonna be having an impact on the whole district. So I just wanted to focus on that. Thank you.
So I've spent the last 6 months on the board, so I'm new to the board, but 2009, 2010 was my senior year of high school. Dr. Woodson joined Washington Township School of Assistant Superintendent. And I was bright eyes, bushy-tailed senior, emailed Dr. Merville, emailed Dr. Woodson, because I was interested in K-12 school leadership, and I wanted to shadow them and see what it was like to be a superintendent. 15 years later, I remember reaching out to Dr. Woodson and team and starting to come about a year ago, starting to come to every school board meeting. Sometimes I would be like one of two guests within the school board meetings because I was serious about being in school leadership and being on school board. And Dr. Woodson helped steward that, which for me, she connected me with the people that I need to be connected with to make this dream a reality for me. And then first, you guys know that Dr. Woodson was the first African-American woman superintendent in Marion County. And look at her legacy. Every single building in this township has been touched. She led successful referendums with the support of our community all over the year. And like Christine said, what a lasting legacy that will last well behind any of us being here. So for that, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to giving it.
I haven't done anything yet. It's not gonna get away with this. And the main reason you're not gonna get away with it is, I was here when you joined the district. I was one of the part of the board that hired Dr. Woodson. I'm now part of the board that she's retiring on. Let's say one of two things. One, got me there too long. But the other thing, before I get to you, Steve reminded me at graduation this past week that I signed his diploma for that.
Wow.
But Dr. Woodson, I just want to say thank you for all the time. I mean, we obviously from the beginning we've had a lot of challenges within the district, but each challenge you've met, tried to exceed it, or at least knock the barrier down. All from whether we were doing the words we can't use today, but the DEI or the cultural responsivity, you helped lead that with the administration team, and that was not easy to do. And so, but during those rough times, you were there. During the good times, you were there. During the COVID times, you were there. It's just been a real rough ride. We've had courageous conversations over the time. People don't realize, they look at the board and we sit up here, we go, I. There's a lot that goes on behind it. Dr. Woodson has been there to help us lead us through that. But we also have conversations with Dr. Woodson too. But she worked through all that, and her, I don't know if you don't know her, she's very, 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 very organized, very prompt to respond. But that has been something that we cherish with what you have done for us and as a district. One of the things I will say is that we'll miss you. We think that I'm not throwing any shade at Dr. Taylor, but we will miss your leadership, and we appreciate that. Tracy said, we appreciate you helping us with this transition, make this new leadership transition as easy as possible. I just want to say thank you, and I know where's Dr. Kaiser. Okay, this is okay, right? Oh, yes, sorry. The board would like to also give you something. We thought about what we could do. Actually, is it easy to open?
Yes, it should be now.
I would like you to open
Oh,
this.
okay.
Because
Open
one of the things
the
that,
mesh bag
one of the
first.
things I forgot, none of us mentioned, back in the day, we were doing international baccalaureate across the district. Dr. Woodson was part of that team with the international baccalaureate team. And not just that, No, that's not what that's for. But she's part of the national team and she's been always wanting us to be a worldwide leader. And so one of the things we decided to give her as a keepsake is a crystal globe that has an inscription on it just for her to remember the district, but also her vision of the world and how to bring them both together. So we very appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I get it.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Oh, I gotta stand up again. Sorry about that. But next item on the agenda is we need a swearing in of Washington Township police officers. If those officers join me up front. Then if you'd like to leave, you can, but we'd like to have folks stay if they can. Swearing in. This is the ceremony. So I'd like to read the police officer oath. And so I'd like start out with, first raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your full name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and uphold the Constitution of the United States and the state of Indiana, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office with fairness, integrity, diligence, and impartiality, upholding the laws of the state of Indiana, and abide by the policies and procedures of the Metropolitan School District of Washington County. I take this obligation freely, without mental reservation, for purpose of evasion. So help me God. Correct?
I don't know.
Yeah, you can.
No, I don't. You know.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the Wells officer. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Welcome to the township. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, everyone. As I mentioned earlier, if you are needing to leave, now is a good time. You don't have to. Open meeting. But it is summer. I get it.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah. Next item on the agenda is superintendent's announcements. Dr. Woodson.
Thank you, President Turner. You have the biannual legal updates from all of our representatives in your documents, and I do highly encourage the board to take time and read through those this summer. You also have the May Indiana Education Insight, which I usually send to you an email, but it is attached here because I think there's some really important information in it this time, especially coming out of the legislative session. Also, you have a binder in front of you, as well as the electronic version of those documents in the superintendent announcements. That is the culminating report of the district strategic plan for 2020 through 2025. So I do call the board's attention to that. It has all of the data and details in it. There are hyperlinks, however, so you do have a hard copy, but in the superintendent announcements is the electronic version, so you can open all the hyperlinks based on Mr. Thompson's encouragement of us to use the hyperlinks. So you have both versions. I know some people like the hard version, some people like the electronic, but there is a lot of data and information based on the goals that we've had the last 5 years and our culminating results. Also, you have access in superintendent announcements to all of the school improvement plan quality assurance documents. That is the kind of the report card for each school, if you will, showing how they did this year, and all of those details are in your documents as well. Last, I have a kudos for Robin Conti. Is she here tonight? She is not. I received an email giving her high praise, and you have all of those details in the actual superintendent announcements, but congratulations to Robin for doing an outstanding job. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is comments from the public. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak this evening? Seeing none, I will move on to the next item, which is approval of the consent agenda. Dr. Taylor.
Mr. President, I'd like to move the HR report off the consent agenda as an agenda item, move it to a regular.
Move it off.
Yeah, like pull it out of the consent agenda and move it to a regular agenda item.
Is there something in it?
I'd like to consider it separately other than the consent agenda.
So you just want to take out the
HR report.
HR report
Correct.
from the consent agenda?
Correct.
Board?
It's not a, if I want to pull it off, I can pull it off. It's not a,
Sure.
it's Robert rules.
Okay. What do you want? We want to put it as agenda item
Regular
number
agenda item, yes. So we can consider it separately.
as an action item?
Yes, as an action item.
Okay, so move it to,
Doesn't matter where. It can be number one on mine. But
we'll shift the numbers. We'll make it the first one after, when we start the action items.
May I ask a question?
Mhm.
Are you doing this, you said you're doing this because of Robert's,
no, not because of Robert rules. I don't want to. I don't.
you just don't want it in with the consent?
Correct, 'cause I
agenda,
don't-
you want it-
yes. Correct.
Okay,
okay.
okay. Got it?
So I am pulling out the human resources report from
So
the
we-
consent agenda. at
When
this
we
time.
vote for it, it won't include the human resources report.
Okay.
Certified and classified, just to clarify?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I don't. They don't tie report.
Okay. So
I think so. I gotta figure that out.
So President Turner, members of the board, I recommend that you approve the consent agenda for this meeting. The consent agenda includes approval of the minutes of the May 14th, 2025 board meeting, approval of 3 payroll calculation summary reports, a claims docket in the amount of $6,273,611.67, a special personnel item in accordance with Indiana Code 20-26-5-11.2. The amended human resources report will be moved to an action item. There is 1 non-competitive grant, gift, or donation to present for board approval. That's the Simon Youth Foundation Capacity Building Grant in the amount of $5,500. And that information has been provided in your board packet for review. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have regarding that amended consent agenda.
Any questions? Entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt the consent agenda, updated consent agenda as presented by Dr. Taylor.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Taylor. So the first action item we like to bring to is the HR report. Dr. Taylor.
Yeah, President Turner, members of the board, and Dr. Woodson, I am seeking your approval of the Human Resources Report containing for classified personnel, 8 new hires. That's numbers 242 through 249, 28 resignations, numbers 131 through 158, 5 retirements, numbers 9 through 13, 3 terminations, numbers 43 through 45. For the certified personnel report, 23 new appointments for 25-26 school year. That's numbers 13 through 35. 11 resignations. That's numbers 197 through 207. 3 terminations, numbers 3 through 5. And 5 transfers for the 25-26 school year, numbers 7 through 11. With that, happy to answer any questions.
Board have any questions? I entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the human resources report as presented in board docs by Dr. Taylor.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay.
Abstain.
And we have 1 abstention. So the motion passes with 4 ayes and 1 abstention. Thank you, Dr. Taylor.
All right, and with that, I want to turn it over to Dr. Kaiser for a special announcement.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor, Dr. Woodson, President Turner, and members of the board. As you know, with Dr. Taylor's coming transition into the role of superintendent in July, I will also be transitioning from my role in human resources to serve as the assistant superintendent of operational services. One of my first and most important tasks in that transition was to lead the search for an experienced and talented educational leader to assume the role of Director of Human Resources for Washington Township Schools. I am pleased to report that this search concluded with your approval of the Human Resources agenda this evening. Your approval tonight follows an extensive process that included 22 applicants, 9 video interview submittals, a 2-hour community interview process with 28 interviews. Thank you to the members of the board who participated in that process. We appreciate it. And a final interview with our executive leadership team, including 2 performance tasks. At this time, I would like to ask Dr. Kelly Whitman to join me at the podium. Dr. Kelly Whitman has extensive experience in schools, starting her career as a business teacher and instructional technology coordinator before transitioning to school administration. She then served as a school principal for 12 years at both Yorktown High School here in Indiana and the Max S. Hayes Career and Technical High School in Cleveland, Ohio. Dr. Whitman received her Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Education and her Master's in Educational Administration from Wright State University. I feel that I'm uniquely qualified to attest to the quality of Wright State University because the finest teacher I know, my mother, also graduated from Wright State. So go Flames. Finally, Dr. Whitman completed her Doctor of Philosophy degree at Indiana State University in Educational Administration. During her time as a high school principal, Dr. Whitman's schools received both state and national honors, being named an Indiana Best Buy by the Indiana Chamber of Commerce 6 times, a 4-star school 5 times, a U.S. News and World Report Best High School designation, and even a National Blue Ribbon School by the U.S. Department of Education. Dr. Whitman also has extensive experience at the state level, having served for 4 years at the Indiana Department of Education. During her 4 years at the department, she served as Chief Academic Officer and then Chief of Staff to the Superintendent of Public Instruction. It is with great pleasure that I formally introduce Dr. Kelly Whitman to you as the next Director of Human Resources for Washington Township.
Evening, everyone. members of the board, superintendent, incoming superintendent. Thank you for the opportunity to serve as the Director of Human Resources at Washington Township. I have to say, it's an honor to join a district that has such a deep commitment to excellence and opportunity, as evidenced by what we saw here this evening. You know, these are challenging times in public education, yet there are also times that are filled with incredible opportunities for our students, and I believe Washington Township is uniquely positioned to continue to rise to meet that challenge, because this team has the skill and the will and the tools and the talent to meet the needs of all students. So I'm excited to get started. I am excited to serve a great group of people and an incredible group of students and staff. So thank you for the opportunity, and I appreciate your trust and your confidence.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda, action item, is approval of a one-year service agreement with Education Elements to help facilitate our first-year implementation of the new district strategic plan. Dr. Taylor.
President Turner, Dr. Woodson, members of the board, I am seeking approval of this service agreement to continue our partnership with Education Elements, who's helped facilitate the creation of our next five-year strategic plan. They've quarterbacked that process. This service agreement enables their partnership to continue to offer the district support and assistance with implementation of the plan, including ongoing progress report development, creation of data dashboards, and school improvement alignment. This one-year effort will help us create a process for ongoing communications with our community, as well as help inform and possibly revise our current quality assurance practices. This is a total financial impact of $120,000, and that will be funded through our Lilly Phase 2 grant. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have relative to this service agreement.
Board.
I have a question, but I have a comment.
Mhm.
I would just like to say that having had the opportunity to work with Education Elements during the strategic planning process, I find them to be incredibly competent and responsive and have done a tremendous job. I also know the importance of having that objective party during implementation to help keep things on course and moving forward. So I think this would be an excellent investment.
Actually, I'll make a comment too, because I actually did look at this agenda item closely. But gosh, it's a good chunk of money for helping us. You know, I was like, what, really? Do we really need that? And then when I read the details, I thought back to all of the presentations, the strategic plan update presentations, and that like massive spreadsheet. And sometimes you try to present from that, and then you try different types of presentations. And then, you know, I said, no, I want it like this. So as I really read, like looked at, you know, at this agenda item, I was like, oh, you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense when I think about it, of kind of having some help to make sure that not just putting the plan together, but figuring out how we're going to report out on the plan and keep track of our progress on the plan in a sensible way. Actually, I think makes a lot of sense. And of course, also I would point out, since it is grant funded, you know, obviously we have the funding available. So that's my commentary.
Anyone else? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve my board X is being stupid. Move to approve the 1-year service agreement with Education Elements to help facilitate our first year implementation of the new district strategic plan as presented by Dr. Taylor.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Next action item, approval of a 5-year service agreement with the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching, NIET. Dr. Taylor.
Thank you again, President Turner. I am seeking approval of this 5-year service agreement, which allows NIET, which is the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching, to support district and continue to support school leaders in implementing their evidence-based instructional leadership framework over the course of the next 5 years. This framework influences how district leaders support principals and how principals in turn support and impact teachers. Research shows that the more effectively school instructional leadership teams operate and aligned, the stronger the collective efficacy of the teaching staff, leading to improved student achievement. NIET's instructional leadership framework, which is linked there for you, and coaching support have already been in place at North Central High School and Northview Middle School for the past couple years. The model emphasizes professional learning that responds to near real-time data, enabling teaching and learning to be addressed more quickly than we've done in our previous years and our previous practices. The total financial impact over the 5 years is $750,250. And again, the funding source is coming out of Lilly Phase 2 grant monies. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Questions, board?
I move that we approve the 5-year service agreement with the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching as presented by Dr. Taylor.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Next action item, approval of Indiana Department of Homeland Security School Safety Grant, fiscal year 2025 to 2026. Chief Lindsay.
Good evening, Dr. Woodson, President Taylor, and board members. We are seeking the board's approval in our efforts to apply for the Indiana Department of Homeland Security, the Secured School Safety Grant for the fiscal year 26 with the school year 25-26. The MSWT PD has applied and has successfully received funding under this grant for the past 11 years in an amount that exceeds over $1 million. This grant is used to provide a majority of salary and benefits of 2 SROs assigned to North Central High School. In past legislation effective July 2021, schools with the ADM over 1,000 may apply for up to $100,000 in funding. In addition to the grant, can also be utilized for the police training and conferences and lodging, et cetera. Total financial impact of the school safety grant requires 100% matching funds from the district. This can be accomplished by using salary and benefits costs of existing SRO personnel. Excuse me. Since $50,000 will be allocated per officer, we have successfully implemented this cost over the past 10 years of this grant. Funding source is the Indiana Department of Homeland Security School Safety Grant, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions you all may possibly have.
Board have questions?
So we just use this grant to like supplement our staffing for SROs?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And I probably should know this, but I don't. And how many SROs do we have? I mean, we just swore in 2. How many?
We have 12, and we have one person that's resigning. Last day will be Friday, so
Okay.
I'll be
Down to
at
11.
it again.
Okay, down to 11, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just a question. Other questions, board? If not, entertain a motion.
Move to approve the Indiana Department of Homeland Security School Safety Grant as presented by Chief Lindsay for the 25-26 fiscal year.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next item, approval of e-learning day contract with Cornelius Minor. Mr. Blum.
Good evening, Dr. Woodson, President Turner, members of the board. I come to you tonight seeking approval of our consulting agreement with the Minor Collective for the amount of $8,000 plus expenses. Cornelius Minor is a nationally recognized educational leader who works with teachers, administrators, school districts, and community-based organizations to support literacy initiatives and to inspire change. We have contracted with Mr. Minor previously, and he was a crowd favorite at our Elevate conference. This contract is for Mr. Minor to present multiple sessions at our upcoming Spark Teacher Conference in September, with a focus primarily on elementary literacy. We anticipate his sessions will fill up quickly and our teachers will leave excited about their work and confident that they have a few new strategies and tools to bring back to their classrooms. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Board? Yes.
Just a comment, I remember that he was very popular at Elevate and did an excellent job. So I think it's exciting that he's wanting to come back.
It's a great opportunity.
Any other questions or comment?
So it says 8,000 plus expenses, but I can't, my board docs has been done. It's not working. I can't see anything, but it says 8,000 plus expenses. What are the expenses?
Just the typical travel. He is based in New York. And so I know we don't always bring contracts at that number, but just in case it were to creep up over that $10,000 threshold, we want to make sure that we had approval.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Okay.
I move that we approve the e-learning day contract for Cornelius Minor as presented by Mr. Blount.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next action item, approval of pre-K to 12 student handbook updates. Dr. Seaver.
Good evening, President Turner, Dr. Woodson, and members of the board. I'm here tonight seeking your approval of the pre-K through 12 student handbook. During the 24-25 school year, we engaged in an extensive process to analyze our handbooks. As a result, we recommended several changes. Well, actually, going back to the 23-24 school year, we recommended several changes, which you might remember, and we had those approved last year. This year, we also conducted a process, but we had far fewer changes. The vast majority of updates are in response to construction changes and operations updates, which you will see in the document. We imagine that there will be additional updates as there are normally small changes that occur each year. Last year, the board gave Dr. Pettigrew permission to make minor changes, so we request that she is given authority to do so again in the upcoming school year with the approval of Dr. Taylor, who will convey those minor changes to the board. And I am happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Board? No questions? Entertain.
That we approve the pre-kindergarten through 12 handbook updates as presented by Dr. Seaver. Section.
Moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next item, approval of agreement with Branching Minds, Dr. Seaver.
Yes, I am also here to seek your approval of the Branching Minds contract. With the approval of the Phase 2 Lilly grant, our goal is to partner with Branching Minds' expertise and software platform to create a comprehensive yet simplistic system to communicate and monitor all academic and behavior data about how students are being supported to advance their learning. And the total financial impact is $478,125 for 5 years, and the funding source is the Lilly grant. You have comprehensive information in your board docs, and I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Board. Ms. George Davis.
Just to be clear, this is for K-12, not just a particular grade level.
That is correct.
I did have one question. If you don't have the answer today, it just popped in my head. So if you don't have the answer, you can say, I can get back to you. So with this particular platform, and you're saying you're tracking both academic and behavioral. So my question is can this platform be used to track how students, to help students that may be off track to get them into such, get them into programs such as with the JEL or other places that can help them down a different career path versus just going, well, you're not going to make it to college, so I don't know what we're going to do with you kind of thing. It's more of, here's some options for you to then track how those students matriculate through those different options. I mean, is that?
Yep, no, that's a great question. A key part of the Branching Minds software is the early warning system. So we've identified key indicators at every level, elementary, middle, and high school, that when the data feeds in from Skyward into Branching Minds, it will, based on our early warning system indicators, populate a list of students who we need to be keeping an eye on proactively and creating a plan accordingly. So the hope is then we respond and get them on a plan as needed.
And so let me ask, so thank you. That helps with that. So you just said something though, and I thought, so if a student is kind of not honors, not AP, or a student is not somebody that, you know, the flags that they're maybe struggling, or maybe, what about all the folks in the middle? Does this help with them as well? I mean, in order to help them, guide them where they might want to go, or?
Absolutely, because we're looking not just at academic data, but the whole child. So for instance, one of the data points that we're going to start tracking through Branching Minds is extracurricular involvement. And so our goal is for every student to be connected in some way outside of the school day with an activity within the school. And so that's an example of every student, we're looking for that regardless of what their iLearn or SAT scores are.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that. Mrs. George Davis?
Sorry, that just made me think of another question. So you said that students will be flagged if like through a warning system. So say you have a student who just has a dream of, I don't know, becoming whatever, but the early warning system says, maybe you need to do something else. How do you level that out? Do you encourage them not to do what they're wanting? Like, I guess I'm saying, what's the path if you're seeing that where they want to go is not where they are
Sure.
or are heading?
That's where our humans come in and work with the
Right.
students. And
So-
there's a conversation with the counselor, the student, often the parent. At the high school level, all what Branching Minds is going to do is just provide us with that high level information
Right.
by student that then tells us, let's have a further conversation about this. We also know that one data point is not as helpful as multiple data points. So
And
this,
that's my question, the human part of it.
Mhm.
Does the human part of then encourage or discourage? Like, and you don't have to answer that right now. It's more of a rhetorical question.
Mhm.
Because when I hear red flag, I'm like, okay, this kid may not be college ready, but they want to go to college. So
Mhm.
is the human element pushing them to get to a point where they are college ready, or is it pulling them back to do something different? And you don't have to answer that in this forum, but just something that crossed my mind when you said red flags.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Seaver. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve the approval of the Branching Minds as presented by Dr. Seaver.
Second.
So move in second. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. Carries 5-0. Thank you. Next action item, wouldn't be a meeting without this gentleman. Approval of the 2016-2020 capital construction project change orders, Mr. Boots.
Thank you, President Turner, and
I know.
good evening, Dr. Woodson, for the last time, greeting at a board meeting, excuse me, and fellow board members. I am here asking for approval of 4 project change orders. They are change order number 001 to Irish Mechanical Services for the North Central Chiller 1 and 2 project. Change order number 003 to Powers and Sons for the Eastwood Middle School 2020 project. Change order number 004 to Powers and Sons for the Eastwood Middle School 2020 project. And change order number 005 to Powers and Sons for the Eastwood Middle School project. And I would note that with the approval of these 3 change orders for Eastwood, it will close the Eastwood Middle School project. The total financial impact is $10,916.66. Be happy to answer any questions.
Board have questions?
I just noticed that some of these are decreases, so we save money. This overall change order is still what we're paying, but there's a lot of decreases in here.
Yes, as we close these contracts out, that's when we sweep all the miscellaneous stuff together.
Got it. Move to approve, Move to approve the 2016-2020 capital construction project change orders as presented by Mr. Boots.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. And thank you, Mr. Booth, for being a good sport.
Yeah.
And bringing some good news. Next action item, approval of uniform and related services agreement with Plymate Inc. Mr. Bowles.
Good evening, President Turner, members of the board, Mr. Boots kind of stole it for the very last time, Dr. Woodson. Perhaps we'll see you at board meetings in the future, but maybe not as many. Yeah. You're going to miss us. I know you would. I'm here tonight to request approval of the agreement for uniform and related services with Plymate Incorporated for operations and transportation. We sent out an RFP to potential vendors. We also collaborated with Mr. Robin Winston, who utilized our vendor portal to circulate that RFP. Received proposals from 2 vendors, and information from those proposals that we received are provided in your board packet. After review of all proposals submitted by the interested companies, it is recommended that our contract be awarded to Plymate Incorporated for uniform and related services. Plymate has been partnering with MSDWT since 2013 and has proven to do a great job providing operations and transportation with uniforms, shop towels, and mat services. We believe their quality work will continue. In 2022, transportation began using Plymate for mat services, changing out floor mats and transportation at the transportation garage facility. This year, we expanded these services to include CEC and Washington Township Services Center. This is due to the high amount of foot traffic in these facilities and smaller custodial crew teams similar to the transportation facility. At this time, I'm recommending that the board approve and award the contract to the 2025-2026 uniform and related services to Plymate Incorporated. The services agreement will continue to provide uniforms to over 110 employees and the services stated previously. The program is estimated to be between $56,000 to $59,000 annually. The specific cost is not known because it depends on if individuals choose a lease or rent agreement as part of their uniform. This will be funded by a combination of operations and transportation department funds. The contract would begin July of 2025 and run for 1 year with a mutually agreed upon renewal term for up to 2 additional years, not to exceed 4%. Happy to answer any questions.
Board, Mrs. Fry?
I just have some questions because this is new to me. I don't remember seeing this one come through since I've been on the board. It says we've been working with them since 2013. So did we have a prior contract very similar to this? And this is kind of just a new updated one?
Yes, correct. So we are ending this past 3 years, 4 years we've been with Plymate. So we're ending that agreement is just up for renewal. And so we are continuing with Plymate. They're the most cost-effective choice based on the proposals. But yes, it is a continuation.
And then, I'm sorry, this is a dumb question, but I'm not an operations person. So we pay somebody to like put floor mats down and then what, like swap them out and they get dirty? Like what does floor mat service exactly mean?
Yeah, so, and you see it you see at hospitals, you see a lot of schools, you see a lot of different places. But yes, they're the high entrance, high traffic areas just to make sure it's safe, people aren't slipping and falling. It's switching those out continuously. And at our school buildings, our custodial teams take care of that. There's a lot more of custodial teams in the school buildings. These particular facilities are 1 or 2 people teams.
That's gonna be my next question is what about the schools?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's all.
I have a question. It said the specific cost is not known and depends on, so do the operations staff, do they pay for the, do they pay for the uniforms and then we supplement it? How does that work?
Almost threw that in there. But yeah, it's rental versus lease. So each person that is in a position that if you're in a position that you get a uniform, for example, a custodial employee, they can choose to rent or lease. If they rent it, they're given 5 uniforms. They take them home, they wash them at home, they keep them at home. They don't own them, but they have them in their possession the entire time that they're employed. If they choose to lease, they get 11 and they're bringing them back to be washed by the company. And then they swap them out. So you only have 5 at a time. You bring your old one, your dirty ones in, you get your new clean set, and you're giving it kind of back and forth, and it rotates. So it's just a personal preference which one they want to do.
But they are paying, the district is paying for those uniforms, not the employee.
That's correct.
Got it.
Yes. And these are all employees with jobs that either for safety reasons, we want them in our uniforms, or we don't want stuff happening to their clothes, that sort of thing.
Mrs. George Davis?
He answered my question while answering.
Okay. Any further questions? Entertain a motion.
Move to approval of the uniform and related services agreement with Plymate Inc. as presented by Mr. Bowles.
A second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Bowles. The last action item, approval of special dockets resolution. Mrs. Smith.
Good evening, President Turner, Dr. Woodson, members of the board. Dr. Woodson's last board meeting, as she's heard it a couple times, and she's secretly sitting back there going, woo. Tonight, I bring you a special resolution, and this is for allowing a special docket on the fiscal year end, June 30th, and also for December 30th. First calendar year end. The board has approved in the past the special one for December 31st before. This we would like to add June 30th, the fiscal year end, and mainly because I want to explain why. And that is, for instance, tonight's meeting. Tonight's meeting is on June 4th. The next meeting is for 7 more weeks. So of course, if you know vendors, they're usually a net 30. That equals 40 some days compared to 30. So when we have those large gaps, which usually happen about this time of year, and with this board meeting moving for sooner, it happened even more extreme. So this would be allowing for those special 2 dockets to be run each year. And then the board would still get the information then at the next board meeting to do the formal approval through that. But we would just ask that only the ones, the vendors that their due dates are before that next board meeting. So we wouldn't just do carte blanche and do anything on that docket. We would make sure there were ones that are specifically due before the next board meeting.
Board have questions?
Move that we approve the special dockets resolution as presented by Mrs. Smith.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is information items, the 2025 legislative session review and implications to Washington Township Schools. Dr. Is it Marcotte? Marcotte. Yes. Executive Director for IUSA and part of the Washington Township Executive Leadership Team. And we'll have somebody from the Washington Township Leadership Team. Yeah, I gotta learn how to read.
President Turner, this is a really important information item for the board tonight. Dr. Marcotte is our proud executive director of the Indiana Urban Schools Association and has a presentation for you summarizing this legislative session that has a lot of implications for public education in Indiana. Following his presentation, we have the entire executive leadership team here to answer implication questions specific to Washington Township if the board has those. You have the presentation he's going to share from IUSA, but you also have a specific document from the executive leadership team going department by department, showing the implications specific to Washington Township. So we'll do the general presentation first, and then Washington Township implications with the executive leadership team following. Welcome, Dr. Marcotte.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Dr. Woodson, congratulations again. I know we've been saying that for a while, but you've done amazing work here in Washington Township. And congratulations to Dr. Taylor. Just to refresh your memory, thank you again so much for allowing me to speak with you, but the Indiana Urban Schools Association is a consortium of 37 districts throughout the state of Indiana, mainly concentrated here in Marion County, Lake County, Elkhart County, but really all over the state of Indiana. In those 37 districts, we represent 330,000 students. So it's a small group with an awful lot of students and staff. I wish I had better news for you in terms of the results of the legislative session. I know Dr. Woodson has kept you well informed during the session with legislative updates. I know ISBA has done a good job as well, keeping you updated throughout the legislative session. But it's going to be challenging for cities, towns, and public schools due to the result of the property tax legislation that has been passed. So just a quick summary, there were 1,229 bills proposed. This session, 245 passed for almost 20%, which is about normal. It's a very busy place down there, especially at the last couple of weeks of this session. Things happen, and sometimes good things and sometimes bad things. But the focus of this entire legislative session, shouldn't be news to anyone. It has been focused on property tax relief. And I'm cautious on how I explain this because how someone looks at this, they might feel this is good news because their property taxes will be going down. But for someone like me who has spent my entire career in public education, it is going to be challenging for those of us who rely on property tax revenue to run our schools. So with that, Senate Bill 1 is a massive bill, 334 pages worth of information. And I just pulled out a few things that will impact you and public schools as a whole on that very large bill. First, it's going to provide restrictions on the issuance of your GO bonds, the general obligation bonds. A lot of school districts rely on these bonds. They're short-term bonds. They're 5 years and less. Many school systems pay them off within 2 to 3 years, but there's going to be a restriction. And that restriction is once you pay off your bond, you have to wait a year in order to pass another bond. The concept that we have to remember about this bill is that it's doing everything it can to limit cities, towns, and schools to increase property taxes. So with that oversight, that's why things like this were put in this legislation. The 4% maximum growth levy will continue, meaning that your overall increase in property tax revenue, if you had one, couldn't be more than 4%. That's going to continue. The big one that I have in bold here is that it changes all of our homestead deductions over the 5 years to almost a 35% decrease in AV in 2031. Now, when you decrease your assessed evaluation of your home, you're going to be paying less taxes. That's the good news. We're all going to be paying less taxes for our homes. The bad news is it's going to have a significantly negative impact on cities, towns, and schools to do what they do. And the final bullet here is that the legislators have allowed cities, towns, counties, and other entities to implement a local income tax if they choose to do so to offset the loss of property tax revenue, except public schools. They will not allow us to do this. And so there's a lot of discussion down at the State House about how all this reduction on how cities and towns and libraries are going to be doing their business, but they might be able to increase the local income tax to help with that loss of property tax, but not schools. So what does this mean for Washington Township? And as I travel around and make this presentation, this is the one slide that I make it unique for you. I wish I had better news for you. Because of the tax revenue loss that you'll be receiving, you will look at a negative $1.1 million decrease next year in 2026, a $2.2 million decrease in 27, and a $3.1 million decrease in 28. Now, your property taxes funds two main funds, your debt service fund and your operating fund. It's not the education fund. We'll get to that in a minute. That comes from the budget, state budget. So the two main items are your debt service. You have to pay your mortgage, like we all have to do at home. We have to pay our mortgage first, and then the rest is the operating fund. So the unique situation that you find yourself in here in Washington Township is that you're taking the greatest hit in Marion County. Only 3 districts are actually going to be receiving additional money in Senate Bill 1, and that is Wayne Township, Beech Grove, and Speedway, because they have the largest tax caps hit in the county. That's the only thing I can figure out as I analyze this, not just here in Marion County, but all through Indiana. The districts that had the greatest tax caps, meaning they're already not able to collect all the tax money they could, they're the ones that are receiving less hit, if that's a good way to put it, in Senate Bill 1. Washington Township, you have been in a situation where you have not been hit that hard on tax caps. But because of that, That's why you're getting hit hard with this. That's the only thing I can think of as to why that is happening.
Is our assessed value in Washington Township higher, like total assessed value higher?
You have a very high assessed valuation in Washington Township, yes. So besides the reduction of the property taxes due to what we just talked about, there also are some other things involved here in Senate Bill 1. It requires any new operating and safety referendum, and that's good for you to know that it's the word new, not what you currently have with your referendum, but any new referendums. I love the language here. It says beginning after 2027. I don't know why they didn't just say starting in 2028, but it's just interesting. But so any new operating and safety referendum will need to be shared with charter schools. You had to hear that on the news and around the city. This was a highly debated topic, very highly debated topic. So what does this mean? It requires all school corporations to share the operations fund with charter school on a per pupil basis, besides the sharing of the referendum fund. So these are two things that are going to be hitting your operations fund as well. And that is, if you pass a referendum, you have to share with charter schools, and you currently then you'll have to share your operations fund with charter schools as well on a per pupil basis. Now, I find that interesting because when I was a superintendent, I never thought of my operating fund on a per pupil basis because communities are different. Some communities have brand new buildings. Some communities have old buildings that need lots of TLC. And so looking at your operating fund as a per pupil basis was something I never thought of. I don't think too many superintendents did. It is what it was. Property taxes paid for your operating fund to run your school buses and buy new school buses and pay for maintenance and all these things. But the General Assembly is now looking at your operating fund on a per pupil basis. So starting in 2028, so there is a little bit of a grace period here of a few years, that whatever that per pupil basis is, you have to share 25% of it with the charter schools in 28, 50% in 29, 75% in 30, and 100% of that per pupil basis in 31. So currently, however, charter schools receive a $1,400 charter school grant that serves like their operating fund. Most charter schools don't run school buses like traditional public schools, so they're not needing the additional monies that you need to buy buses and run your buses and other activities. But they get this $1,400 per student now. That will be reduced accordingly. So they're not going to be able to double dip. That was we made sure that was clear language. So they're not going to be getting both. So for example, if your per pupil basis is, I'll just pick a number, I don't know what that is, but it's $1,000. Let's just say it's $1,000. Then the charters will only receive $400. They won't receive the other $1,400, if that makes sense. So that's how that works. Now, to qualify to be shared, you have to have 100 students or at least 2% of your ADM who reside within Washington Township attend a charter school. Not one charter school, any charter school. 100 students or 2% of your ADM. Yes, sir.
So just make sure I understand.
Yeah.
If a student has legal settlement in Washington Township, right?
Yeah. Yes.
They go to a virtual charter school in Lake County, right? That student counts toward our number, or
not the virtual. This is attending a charter school locally.
Okay.
Yes. So down the road, charter school.
Okay. So, okay. Correct. Yeah. So it's based on the student's legal settlement. So
yes, based on the student's legal settlement. Now this is a last minute change. For several months, they were also trying to have you share your debt service fund. And DLGF said you can't do that. You can't borrow more money than you really need. That's not how this works. And so at that point in time, when it came to the sharing of the new referendum, it was only with a charter school in your district if they were located here in Washington Township. But since that was the sharing of the debt service fund was removed, They then changed it to be any charter school located anywhere. Could be Hamilton County, it could be downtown, it could be anywhere, it could be in Perry Township. It doesn't matter where that charter school is located. And I looked at all the numbers, and most Marion County districts have more than 100 students. Yeah.
Wait, but virtual is excluded if they're virtual?
Yes, yes. From this,
Got
from this. And right now, there's 37 districts throughout the state who would qualify for this. 37 districts. Most of them are in the Urban Schools Association because charter schools are located in Lake County and Marion County. So that's logical. But there are some, even outside of Marion County, where more than 100 students are attending a charter school. They will need to share that operating fund.
And we're one of those 37 schools.
You are. Yes, you are. Currently, you're sharing that. All because it was passed 2 years ago in the budget that any students who attended charter schools in Lake, Marion, St. Joe, and Vanderburgh counties, in other words, the largest counties in the state, had to share the operating fund, but not on a percentage like they're showing here. It's a much smaller percentage, and you're not getting hit too hard right now, but you've been doing this for 2 years. Allen County is not in this, and I was surprised because Fort Wayne's a metropolitan area in Indiana, but they were not in this provision. They will be in 28 when this starts because they have more than 100 students who attend a charter school. So they'll be one of the 37 as well. So those are the significant hits, so to speak, that your operating fund will have. Not only are you going to be receiving less revenue from property taxes, but you're now having to share it with the charter schools as well.
So does and I think I know what the answer is, but does the money follow the pupil? In other words, if that pupil comes back to Washington Township, do we stop, or we probably already paid them? So, I mean, how do you?
You will not receive the money back. Just like a student might come to you after ADM day.
Right.
You're not receiving any additional money for that child until the second ADM in February. Then you'll be receiving, because it's September and February are your 2 ADM days. That happens now. That happens all the time now. You'll have students leave and come, and it just happens. So whatever your attendance is on ADM day, that's what you get funded for. And then whatever you have in February on ADM day, that's what you get funded for.
You can see all kinds of ways around that. So, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, I wish I had better news, but in the Urban Schools Association, we spent a significant amount of time and energy trying to share with our legislators the hits that the urban schools are going to be taking in the state of Indiana when it comes to Senate Bill 1. Again, I have to say, on the flip side, there are lots of people in Indiana who feel this is a good bill because their property taxes will go down. A real quick story. So I'm at home with my wife, and we're getting ready for dinner, and we have the news on, and I hear that there's this big protest down in front of the governor's mansion because of property taxes, because of Senate Bill 1. And I thought to myself, good, that's great. So I pay attention to the television, and people were protesting that Senate Bill 1 didn't go far enough. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I guess that's the two sides of the story here. Those of us who live in the traditional public school world are thinking, this is going to hurt. Other people are like, I don't want to pay taxes, so this is good. So it's just that dichotomy that we have. So the debt service fund, which is the other piece, and probably the largest piece, many school districts, that's the largest piece of your property tax revenue. There's been some changes there. I know that Washington Township, like most of the school districts in Indiana, have worked real hard to get that debt service rate threshold to 80 cents, because that was passed, I believe, a budget ago. Because if it's over 80 cents, then you'd have to take this to the people to make sure you getting permission for that tax rate above 80 cents. And lots of districts worked really, really hard to get that below 80 cents. Well, the budget, or Senate Bill 1, is now saying 70 cents. This is your CFO is going to be working really hard to try and get your debt service. This has nothing to do with your referendum. It's just your debt service fund, below 70 cents. The other change is that referendums can only occur in the fall general elections. And they're going to be adding some language to the question, and that's every single session. We seem to get this change in the referendum question, because even though it's a system that was created by the General Assembly, they're doing everything in their power for them to fail. And they're about 50-50. The 50% or so pass, 50% or so don't pass. Most here in Marion County pass. But the language is going to be this, that if you have a renewal coming up, it's going to need to include language that says that if this doesn't pass, the property tax will decrease this amount. Again, they're just making it more difficult for people when they read the question on the ballot. They're going to go, well, gee, I want my taxes to go down. No. So they're adding that too. And for some strange reason, in this bill, they're eliminating the Union School Corporation in Modoc, Indiana. The superintendent and the school board didn't see this coming. And there's lots of politics behind this, which I won't go into, but we've been talking among our people. If this appears in a tax bill that they're closing a public school, who's next? You know, I mean, that's kind of where we find ourselves in this environment today. So I believe that's kind of the summary of what's happened here, is that the reduction of property tax revenue over the next several years, plus the sharing of your operations fund with charter schools, traditional public schools will see a significant loss of the operating fund revenue. That's where your people are already, I know, engaged in preparing as to when this hits. So incidentally, I put this last piece up here that, you know, if people are saying that we pay way too many taxes in Indiana, well, really? I mean, we're 32 out of 51, including DC. We're in the lower half when it comes to paying property taxes. My brother lived in California. He has since moved somewhere else. They pay 5 times the amount or more in property taxes in that state. But we're 32 out of 51. The state budget, this is your education fund. Moving on to the next big item here. MSD Washington Township in 26, you'll see a 3.1% increase in your education fund, 2% in 27. The average in the Urban Schools Association was 3.4 and 1.9. The average across the entire state of Indiana, traditional public school, was 3.7 and 1.9. Charter schools are receiving a smaller increase in the per pupil funding, not the $1,400 charter school grant, because charter schools are public schools, so they get the ADM as well. That's 2.6 and 1.4. And the voucher is going to be increasing to a 5.5% increase and a 1.9. But within the budget, they eliminated the funding for professional development that currently has been used for the Indiana Association of Public School Superintendents. That's a significant loss of revenue for them. And IASBO, which is the Business Officials Association, and the Principals Association. They had some state money to help with training of educators, and that has now been taken out. Universal vouchers with no income requirement begins in 2027. I did the math. It's going to cost around $93 million. I have a little bullet here that I find it interesting that they're saying that the budget forecast was not good. In fact, it's a $2 billion shortfall, yet we're going to increase the voucher system $93 million. I just find that interesting. Curricular materials and textbooks is funded in tuition support and not a separate line item, and this isn't going to be good news for you. Most districts, including you, receive a reimbursement for curricular materials greater than the increase in tuition support last year. And last year, there was a $160 million separate line item that they provided for school systems to pay for the curricular materials, textbooks and things like that. This upcoming, they're not giving the $160 million. you're going to have to take it out of the 3.1% increase that you're getting, yet you received more than that last time. So what I'm saying is it may be a wash. There may not be an increase in funds for you because you'll be spending any new increase on your curriculum materials and textbooks. Yeah.
Time for questions, but I want to make sure I understand this. So when they took away the whole we can charge people thing
Yes.
back,
Yes.
they said, okay, you don't have to charge parents anymore because we're going to provide the money. But
Right.
the money they provided wasn't enough.
Correct.
And so we still kind of took a hit from it.
Yes.
Now they're taking that away entirely.
Yes.
Like they're not like, oh, well, we're going to actually go ahead and increase the tuition support sum to cover that. Like, it's,
Well, the communication that I received, they said we did.
I mean, but not really, because a 3% increase is just covering inflation.
It's not covering it. It's not covering inflation.
Okay, so basically, in the last couple sessions, we've had, first they cut our ability to charge families, and then they shortchanged us, making up for that, and now they've just taken it.
Yes.
Cool.
I wish I was the bearer of better news. I'm the Grim Reaper here, but okay. So that is basically it for the budget and the property tax bill. And then I threw a few other real quick bills here that you probably are familiar with. And this is the partisan school board elections. Primary election requirement was eliminated. It requires candidates to choose either Republican, Democrat, Independent, or nonpartisan. And if you choose to be nonpartisan, there'll be no label after your name. But if you are, you'll have to declare a Republican. Your name on the ballot will be an R or a D or an I or nothing. So you'll have to do one of those four things the next time if you choose to run for re-election. It prohibits a straight party choice option ballot. There was hope that you could just go into the booth and press a D or press an R, and the school board would be on there already because they were talking about you having primary, and so you would have a D or an R. But since at least we were able to stop that, voters will still have to go to the back of the ballot and vote for individual school board members. It increases school board maximum compensation to 10% of first-year teacher salary if you choose to do so. Whatever your first-year teacher salary is, if it's $50,000, then you could increase the compensation for board to $5,000. That's all that means, and that's not required. It's an option for you if you so choose. Student absenteeism, we supported this bill. It happened last year for K-6. This bill basically now added the secondary. And I know our secondary folks are trying to figure out how this is going to happen time-wise, but it requires school corporations to implement a truancy prevention program, K-12. It requires parent notification and meetings with school administrators when students are absent. It allows the county prosecutor involvement prior to the habitual truancy designation. And I testified that we don't need to allow prosecutors, we need to require prosecutors if we really mean what we say, that students need to come to school. That didn't make it in the bill. So I know in Marion County, our prosecutors are extremely busy. And hopefully we can get them out and work with our principals and assistant principals in dealing with some of our students that have significant absences. Math education, we supported this bill as well. It requires a student who passes above proficient on the iLearn test in grades 5, 6, and 7 and earn a C in that class or higher, to be automatically enrolled in an advanced math course. It doesn't say what math course that is, and most likely it might be pre-algebra at that age level, but it doesn't necessarily mean pre-algebra. Washington Township, if they wanted to, could create an advanced math course. It doesn't dictate what advanced math course means. The parents do have an opt-out provision. Schools must inform the parents that they can opt out. And also beginning next year, the school shall administer a math screening tool to all K1 and 2 to basically see where they are. The DOE is still working on what that means, and some of the screening tools that they will be, I shouldn't say providing, I doubt they'll be providing it, but at least information on what's out there. And also beginning in 26-27, any student at risk of not achieving proficiency is going to be required to receive intervention. And again, there's no prescription for that. It's whatever Washington Township decides what that looks like. But it's basically, this bill is just ramping up math education, just ramping it up.
I mean, when my kid was in 7th grade and she was in, wasn't pre-al, I think she did, she did pre-algebra in 7th grade. If she got a C in pre-algebra in 7th grade, no, she should not be in honors in 8th grade.
And
That's my.
well, and as a parent, you can definitely say that. Absolutely.
Well.
Absolutely.
If you're paying attention enough and remember it all now. But anyway, sorry, that was side commentary. I'll be.
That's okay. That's okay. The superintendents in IUSA, we spent a significant amount of time talking about this bill. We did all the what ifs. And grade 6 and 7, it's a little bit easier to think about the what if because the pre-algebra piece. Grade 5 is going to be the difficult one. Where are we going to put students in grade 5? When they go to grade 6, is that going to be pre-algebra? That's getting pushed down, but that's a decision that each district is going to have to make. Teacher compensation, it requires all school districts to increase minimum teacher pay to $45,000 beginning in the next year, immediately, July 1 here. Requires all school districts to increase tuition support expenditures from 62 to 65%. You are above those both now, so you're good. There are 44 school districts that have a minimum salary of $45,000, and there's 150 school systems in the state already that meet the 65% threshold. I don't think this is really going to be a problem for Washington Township. This is an interesting bill. It creates a 3-year centralized facility and transportation pilot program and establishes boards for each. 3 traditional public school corporations may participate, selected by the DOE through a criteria. This is an attempt where we're heading to have conversation about consolidation. That's what this is. And this is just the beginning. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of this topic in the future. And finally, currently, when it comes to students transferring schools, there's a language in existence now that says a student cannot transfer for athletic reasons. They took that out. So now a student can transfer for athletic reasons. With this bright news, that's
Appreciate you coming.
Always so good to see you.
Yeah. And all I can say is I wish I had better news, but seriously, I love coming to Washington. I live just a ways down the road here, and I've always respected what you do as a board and respect Dr. Woodson's leadership, and I know Dr. Taylor is going to move you even further along. But congratulations on everything you have done. Tonight's meeting was fantastic with all of those recognitions. I go all over the state, and so I see what every board does, and Washington Township does it right. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Who is, exec team, you're just here for questions? I mean, to answer questions? Board have questions?
There's a separate document in your board docs called Legislative Session Impact of Washington Township, and it'll walk you through department by department impacts. That gets real specific to our work here.
The superintendent announcements.
Should be down info, right?
I guess I have a general, can we maybe start? I guess just generally speaking, and this is horrific news. And have you had a chance to begin to, I'm sure you have, that was not the best way to phrase that. I'm sure you quite know potential impact in specific areas. So I don't even know how to frame the question, but like, can you give us what you've already determined? Doesn't have to be formal,
Maybe
whatever.
some of the bigs by department.
Yeah.
Some of your big majors coming up.
So of course, since a lot of it has to do with money, of course, I have booklets of information. But just to kind of tag on to Dr. Marcotte's information, I'll highlight a couple that might help. And when we were talking about the sharing of monies and that, when he was talking about the homestead deduction over the 5 years, and then at the end of the 5 years would be a 34.65% decrease, you know, for Washington Township. And that would, of course, hit our operations fund, you know, that levy. Just to give you a context of what that is, that would mean that our assessed valuation, that is now just shy of 8 billion, would go down over $2.5 billion. That's a lot, which then equals almost $1 million loss in our operations fund. Just that one thing alone, that's a lot of money. So just hitting the highlight of that, and of course that's, you know, over the, you know, so many years. Talking about the lit going away, thank goodness Washington Township does not have lit. There are some other districts that I know that are losing millions by that tax going away. So that's a good thing. And of course, he already gave you some of the other numbers from operations fund. Kind of tagging on to the operations fund share based on currently, I got the number from Dr. Taylor and based it on the formula. We have currently about 415 students that that would impact, you know, as long as all those are verified. We actually did talk to the DOE and other agencies regarding being able to verify that information, you know, so someone doesn't just automatically say they're one of our kids. You know, we wanted a mechanism to be able to verify that. I said, if you're taking away money from us, then we need to be able to verify that list before you take our money away. So they're working on that and trying to find all those boundaries and things that will happen with all of that. Our debt service rate for Washington Township, when it changed, that rule changed from 80 cents to 70 cents. We're fine, thank goodness. Ours is 12 cents, so we're way below that. So we work hard on maintaining that rate and keeping that stable. Of course, that might fluctuate a little bit, but we definitely wouldn't go to 70 cents. So I just wanted to let you know those parameters of ours. And let's see, I probably have a couple more, but I would be happy to answer any questions the board may have regarding any other impacts or any kind of questions that you may have on the funding alone for Washington Township. I can tag on to the funding formula and that on the curriculum materials being enrolled in. Like he had those numbers for Washington Township, of course, that are smoke and mirrors in my opinion for that. But ours ends up being only 1.6% in fiscal year 26 and 1.35 in 27 with carving out those curriculum materials. Also, that'll make bargaining a little rough in contexts where you are not, you can carve that out of the funds available for settlement. So approximately $1.8 million that Washington Township received as a disbursement, because like Ms. Fry talked about, we did not get a full reimbursement anymore. So I started using the phrase disbursement for our curriculum materials because they did not include any of our consumables or supplementals and some of our other curriculum materials. Now they are saying that all are included. You can just do whatever you want because of course we don't get a disbursement. So they took that original money, put it in the funding formula, and our net is lower than we've received in the last 6 years. So wanted to give you that kind of context for that, for the curriculum materials. I think that is the big highlights. Of course, there'll be more unfolding. The Department of Local Government Finance and the Department of Education indicated that they will release projections per school district, kind of like they do with the circuit breaker impact throughout the summer all the way into the fall, which as you know, I'm already working on the budget and the board will have a budget workshop in August, hearings in September, adoption in October. So hopefully we'll get some of that information, but I'll do my best and get that crystal ball out and try to project as much as I can for the township in preparing that budget. But we'll just keep on going, and we are blessed to have our referendums that we have here. which we know I've been already talking with operations that's going to hit our operations fund. Thank goodness we have the time to be able to work in a long-term facility plan with knowing these dollars ahead of time. So I'll work hand in hand with operations to make sure, of course, we just have these beautiful buildings that we're renovating, but we're going to make sure we maintain those with, paving and roofing and lighting, all those HVAC, all those things that will come up over years ahead. So we'll keep on working on that. And my job is, as long as I know, the approximate numbers, and, I get, my job is to make sure we balance our revenue and our expenditures each year. So any questions? Yes. Thank you.
Okay, operations.
Mm-hmm.
Probably know this, but okay, it's funded by property taxes. So we have the operating referendum,
Correct.
but that's not the entirety of our operating fund, right?
Right. That's
Right,
totally
there's
separate.
Some of the operating fund is like, we would get regardless if we had a referenda through.
So that's called the operations fund. So yes, you're right. Operating referendum and operations fund. All these implementations with the taxes are mainly hitting our operations fund, even if we didn't have a referendum fund.
Okay.
So that is where we pay the overall operations of the districts. That's not education fund where the schools, teachers, principals, that is superintendent's office, business office, technology, bus, transportation, bus replacements, all that come out of our operations fund.
So sorry. Okay, so the sharing with charter schools, there's a sharing for new referenda, but there's also a sharing of the operations fund.
Exactly.
That isn't part of it. Okay.
Yes, that is.
Regardless of referenda timing, any of that, this like 25%, 50%, like we're, okay. Next question.
No, can I tag onto that
Yeah.
so you know that amount? So that amount's about $715,000 right now, what that would be at 100%. So that's almost $1 million of that sharing money,
At
but we'll do
100%.
those at 100% right now with the figure, because it's a formula. So based on the formula, when we get to that 100%, I'm sure it could be more or it could be less. So that's the average right now.
And just so I understand, I'm just gonna throw out a round number to make it easy, okay? So let's say that your per pupil operations fund was $100. Probably more than that, but we'll just, for the sake of math, let's say your per pupil operations fund money is $100 per pupil. In 2028, we're gonna have to give $25 per pupil to the charter schools. Is that only for the number of students in the charter schools? Like how many, $25 times how many?
It's a formula. They do a formula. So what they do is they take, in the formula, it's how many charter students that are in our district that are going to the charters. Then there's a formula that they based on that takes that percentage of your total ADM or eligible ADM, and that's how they get the percentage, and then it goes into more of the formula. But that's the gist of it, where how many of those 415 of our 11,000 students, what is that percentage? And then it builds into their formula of that
So, I mean,
percentage.
roughly though, we're only gonna be on the hook for sharing for 415 students.
Correct, correct. And that could be anywhere from the 700,000 up to about $1 million. Exactly. Being it's virtual, exactly. So that's worst case scenario right now. Mhm.
And then my next question, referendum,
Yep.
operating referendum.
Mhm.
So it's only new referendum after 2027, starting in 2028, you said, right? So our current operating referendum must be renewed by 2027, correct?
Actually,
In 2028.
restricted to 2026.
Well, it expires in 2027, which means we have to put it on the ballot in 2026.
bingo.
because
Correct.
It has to be in a general election.
Correct.
So yes, technically it expires in 2027, but that means because, okay.
The last year to
So,
collect 2020.
I hate, gosh, I'm sorry for any taxpayers and community members in the room who are gonna freak out hearing this, but theoretically, if we have and to be clear, just a renewal, for argument's sake, let's say a tax neutral renewal on the ballot in 2026. We aren't gonna have to share that?
Correct.
Okay. I guess that's
If
something.
we all of a sudden did it and hurried and did it, that's, there's all different types to that, but yes. And
But
just
yes,
so,
but they've now made it hard, as Bill was saying, they're making it harder for us to pass.
They
the
are.
renewal, because even if it's a tax neutral renewal, that's not gonna increase taxes. There's gonna be that language that's like,
Yes.
oh, no, you could.
and as the CFO, what I see other districts that I've talked to, Marion County CFOs and that, or others through IASBO, is unfortunately, they do this smoke and mirrors that it's going to save taxpayer money. But then when some districts may renew theirs, they might renew it for 1 or 2 cents higher to cover that loss that they're getting from having to share. So it forces them on the other end where it might end up being the same for the taxpayers. That's my opinion. And that's what I've heard some of them talking about they might have to do.
Well, I think that's all my questions for now. I mean, I will
No,
say
it's good.
this, I mean, this is gonna hurt, no doubt. I am thankful that our district is in the financial position that we are in. I am thankful for your stewardship, because even though this is gonna hurt everybody, I do at least sit here going, thank goodness, like, we have really stayed in particularly good financial standing, because at least we're going to be in a much better position to weather this
Absolutely.
than the majority of districts. in
Yes.
the state. So
Agree.
I guess thank you to you and everybody for at least having set us up to be in a position to weather it with your financial management in the years leading up to this.
And our community support.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So I do have one quick question on the general obligation bonds. I thought when we issue those bonds, some of them are concurrent. I thought we issue before one is paid off. So the way this is written, what was presented is if it wouldn't affect us if you're rolling the bonds. In other words, we'd have to actually pay off everything and then try to issue another one a year later. But if
The number of years that you're able to pay them back now, that's the big difference. So you have to be very strategic in how you're doing that.
Okay.
Because of the 5-year thing instead of the 2 or 3 that most people did. So then they could do another one on top of that and another.
Right.
But yes.
Okay.
So we'll just be strategic. I've already met
there's
with
ways-
Ice Miller, our bond counsel, and our Baker Tilly, our financial advisors. So we already have some plans in place that we're going to present to, of course, the board and the superintendent for proposals for in the future.
Okay.
Any other departments that want to mention major things that you're working on with implications? I know there were a couple outside of budget.
Good evening, President Turner, Dr. Woodson, and members of the board. So at the middle level, we are being proactive, and we're asking our department chairs for math to go ahead and start identifying those students who are above proficiency in math and have the C or better in their math classes to place them in the advanced level courses, because we want to see what that impact will have for us in the future. So we are being proactive in doing it as of this summer, as opposed to waiting for next year.
Are you concerned about, with the math education bill, about like more students getting enrolled in those classes, but then the classes getting potentially watered down because of like, someone who has a C who really is not, I mean, yeah.
It's very concerning. I think with Dr. Marcotte, had the chance to speak with Dr. Best about this, and most middle level educators did not really approve this bill because of the exact reason. Because typically you want to triangulate the data, so you want more as opposed to less, and sometimes a kid can have a above proficiency might be on a good day. So it's going to be difficult, but I think one of the things that we've talked about earlier is the MTSS process and helping us identify those students that need additional supports and then providing them for those students.
Well, also with the new platform we just talked about, you can help track there too, right?
Yes, so we will have additional information. We're going to be using ExactPath, and so that's going to be like a diagnostic tool. And our goal is to use that for not only remediation, but for also acceleration. So to help fill in the gaps for the students that may have some of those.
So follow up on that. I mean, I know we're stuck. We can't change the law, but I'm fired up about this. I was always under the impression, and I am not an educator, and goodness knows I haven't looked at any research on this in a very long time, but what I recall from many years ago is that the conventional wisdom was, especially when you're in those middle school years where you're starting to get into that leading up to pre-algebra, getting into pre-algebra, I always thought conventional wisdom was that if you push kids ahead too fast in that phase, it actually hurts them long term because everything in math builds. And so if you don't have if you're pushed too far ahead to where you're sort of struggling because you're being pushed, then you end up struggling for the whole rest of your math K through 12 academic career. Is that, am I crazy? Is that still a thing?
I don't disagree, but I think what's happened is that the IDOE has found success with the science of reading, and so they're trying to replicate that success with math, and they feel like this is the opportunity for us to do that.
But okay, sorry, I mean, well, it is what it is. I hope we'll be very, I don't know, that's a lived experience for me, so it's like, for me, myself as a kid, like, I went through exactly that. Anyway, okay,
Thank you.
As Mrs. Smith mentioned, there will be certainly implications for bargaining, but I also wanted to point out that in addition to those implications, as you know, generally we receive the teacher appreciation grant funds from the state. We have a board-approved policy for the distribution of those teacher appreciation grant funds, and traditionally that has been that we receive those funds. Teachers that are designated as highly effective receive 25% more than effective teachers, and all teachers designated effective and highly effective who returned that school year receive some kind of funding through the teacher appreciation grant. In addition to the pieces that Dr. Marcotte mentioned, there was a significant revamp and change of how those funds will be received, distributed. We are still finding out lots of details. But number one, we know that the legislation requires that those funds will be competitive. What competitive means, we do not know. Number two, we know that the funds will be limited to 20% of the teachers in any given school corporation. So we will not be able to distribute to all effective and highly effective teachers. It will be limited to 20% of teachers. We know that the categories that you are used to, ineffective, needs improvement, highly effective, will become 3 new categories: recognized, exemplary, and master. Again, we're still finding out a lot of how those will be designated or how we will be required to create systems to designate those. So a lot more of information to come, but I did want the board to be aware we will have to significantly change our teacher appreciation grant policies, processes, and outcomes for teachers.
and to be clear, like, this is for, goes into effect, like, this will be, yes, the next disbursement we get in November. Are we still gonna get that, or is this like?
The impression, the impression that
I know
we
that
have
contracts are like kind of backdated.
is that in addition, they are moving the release of funds to later in the year. We don't know exactly when. So I'm not sure there will be a disbursement in November as it traditionally has been. The most recent was that could be coming more toward the end of the school year, but again, no detail that I'm aware of.
I know we might not know, but my real question is there still gonna be one more year of being able to give them out as usual, or it's like automatic?
My impression is the answer to that is no. We will not be receiving them as we traditionally have for one more.
And I know when I was at the ISBA meeting, they were saying that there's just like, the DOE hasn't released guidance on this. and you
Very
don't-
little.
And I mean, there's these different money levels. So I mean, technically you could give somebody up to $10,000, but you can only give to 20% overall. And like, how does that, like, how many can be here or there? Can you just give a smaller number of teachers? master, and you don't know any of that, right?
We have received exactly what you described with no information about how folks would be designated or how will be required to designate teachers into categories. So we know the broad categories. We've heard some things about money amounts, but as far as the process, the amount of overall funds received, how we'll apply to get them, all of those things, we're still waiting on guidance.
If we think about this, forget education fund, forget all that stuff. In a way, this is just another direct cut to us because, at least in recent history, we've been able to kind of count on, we're going to get this money from the state to be able to give these teacher appreciation grants, which theoretically gives us a little more room in collective bargaining, right? If that isn't there, then in collective bargaining, teachers are going to be kind of looking for that to be made up somewhere, right? So now that this, I mean, it's basically a pay cut to teachers, right? And if we don't want teachers to have to take a pay cut, we're going to have to find that somewhere while we're also getting our budget cut.
It is a direct reduction of the amount of money that every effective and highly effective teacher in the state of Indiana would receive collectively. Yes. Yes.
Well, once again, I will say, as doomsday as this is, thank goodness we're already well over the 45,000. Because I saw that number, the number of districts that are already there is pretty low as a percentage. So if I'm a district that isn't there yet, and I'm saying now I have to raise my teacher salaries to this in a time where I'm also getting cuts, like holy scary. So, I mean, again, we've been, I feel like, a little ahead of the curve of a lot of districts in our compensation. So again, thank goodness we're in the position we are to kind of weather this. Even though, yeah, I know it's good. Collective bargaining is not going to be a lot of fun next.
Other questions, board?
Mr. Nebo, I see about the cybersecurity policy. I'm assuming that you guys already probably have a cybersecurity policy and like things like that. So this is really not a huge impact, and you guys are kind of in trend with the other public entities and other school districts in the state.
I hate saying it's not a real impact when you're hearing all of this, but yeah, you're correct. So we have most of those pieces. They survey us on a lot of these pieces already. It's going to be tighter alignments, and really it won't fully impact us till 2027 when we have to file the report formally with the DOE.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions?
I would also just like to say, Kelly and Sean, congratulations again on those new jobs.
Mr. Baum?
Sorry, they thought they were all looking at me like I thought we were done. There's one other piece of legislation that wasn't listed, but it's really relevant and important, and you're probably going to hear or see more of it soon as summer school wraps up in our district and other districts, and it's centered on iRead 3. And so similarly to the earlier question about what research would support these decisions, another decision that was made in legislative session was tightening up the access to a good cause exemption for a third grader who has not passed the iRead 3 test. And that has been tightened up significantly. And so there will be many more third graders retained going into next school year. We saw this coming, luckily, and really ramped up our efforts and interventions and programs in the last year and a half. And so we are in a much better position than we thought initially we might be. But the most significant one has to do with our English language learners. And if you are an ENL student, a language learner who has been enrolled in school and receiving services for more than 2 years, you are not eligible. So if you are a newcomer coming to the country, zero English background, halfway through first grade, and you don't pass iRead at the end of third grade, you are retained, and there's not any way around that. And so we are working diligently. We are very fortunate to have the staff that we do. We have close to, or actually a little over 400 second and third graders in summer school right now trying to get across the line. But we know that we will have greater numbers than we've had in the past. Like I said, they're much better than they were projected months ago, but that is a real challenge. So, and I will just say, since I'm standing here, that we all know that our district provides the absolute best education opportunity for any family in Washington Township. and that's not going to change. They can take our money and give it to some charter school that's probably going to be closed in 2 years. But our teachers are fantastic, and they're going to roll up their sleeves and they're going to get it done. And before the community so generously supported us, a couple of referendums, we had 800 elementary students in some of our schools, and it wasn't ideal and our resources were thin, but we got it done, and we will. And 10 years from now, when Dr. Woodson comes back and visits us, our schools are going to be thriving, our board celebrations are going to be inspirational, and we will continue to be the absolute best opportunity for any family in Washington Township.
Very well said. And a nice, may I just one thing, just a suggestion. This is so complex and you guys are living in this stuff every single day, trying to figure it out. If you, what would be helpful, I'll speak for myself, but I'm assuming for the rest of us sitting up here, bite-sized pieces of information, talking points that really don't talk about 32%, et cetera, talk about how many kids impacted, impact on teacher salaries. I mean, put this in the most basic of terms. That's how I absorb it better. And I think for all the folks who live in the township, we need to get them understanding just how devastating this is. And I agree with Christina. We will weather this. It's just going to be tough. But if we can tell those stories in the most simplest of terms and how it's going to impact their students, then I think maybe that will help educate folks about how bad this bill is, because it's just too complicated. You can't read it to understand it. You have to, so that's it. Not to add extra work, just a suggestion.
Other questions or comments, board? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you all very much.
Thank you. And Dr. Murcott, you can come back just.
I'm not sure he
sparingly.
can, actually. I'm not. There you go.
Thank you very much, though, seriously.
Yeah.
The last information item is the Lilly Endowment update. Dr. Taylor.
Sorry, I was expecting a Microsoft PowerPoint here. I didn't know we were going to go Google.
So if you press the slideshow button at the top, Dr. Taylor, on your right, or maybe your left, but by where it says share, here.
I got you. I got you. I got you.
These IT guys.
All right, I was expecting a PowerPoint. All right, so I do have good news to share tonight. I wanted to give, I know the board's been kept aware during some transitional meetings of our progress in Lilly Endowment. I want to first start off by thanking the Lilly Endowment for the Marion County K-12 initiative, but did feel like it was an opportune time for us to give the community an update on our progress relative to the 3 grants or the 3 phases of grants. And so that's what our info item is this evening. This slide here is an overview of where we've been and where we currently are. So if you look at phase 1, that was a planning grant. It's hard to believe that was started in October, but we were successful, obviously, receiving the $50,000 startup money. And I'll talk a little bit later about what that $50,000 went toward. And then phase 2, we just received word at the end of May that we received the $5.28 million non-competitive grant through phase 2. And that's where we'll get into the weeds a little bit here this evening on what exactly that money is going to go towards. And then phase 3, we just found out that we were invited to continue with the proposal as we were successful with the concept paper we were required to submit back in March. And so we will be proceeding and moving forward with the phase 3 proposal, which is due in August. So there were 3 grant priorities for Lilly. First of all, it was improve academic achievement, improve post-secondary success, or I should say, address challenges and opportunities that can affect academic achievement or post-secondary success. And so for phase 2, we chose objective 1 or priority 1, And for phase 3, we are working to address all 3 of those priorities. Just some miscellaneous information relative to the grant. I spoke about the minimum requirement of 1 priority. That has to be the objective or focus of your grant. Pre-K is excluded. So this is a K-12 initiative. No pre-K funding allocations were permitted. Our goals or intended outcomes have direct alignment with our draft district strategic plan that will be coming before the board on July 23rd to seek your approval of that plan. So you'll see alignment between our Lilly work and our district strategic plan goals. And then the district also has obligations for ongoing fund commitments of up to 20% relative to the initiative. So for phase 1, what did we do with that $50,000? We contracted with Education Elements to get us started on facilitation of a strategic plan process, seed money, if you will, as well as contracted with Advancing Public Schools, which is led by Glenda Ritz and her team, who are helping author these grant proposals. Phase 2, again, our overall objective, what we had for that was improved literacy achievement by strengthening our multi-tiered system of supports. And so you'll hear the reference of MTSS throughout this info item. And so I just want to talk a little bit about what does that mean to the parent. That's very heavy instructional jargon. If you're an educator, you get it. If you're a parent, you may not. And that's basically a quick way of saying that any student who needs something more than just what the general education curriculum is providing, we look through that through the lens of multi-tiered systems of support. So if a student is below grade level or proficient in any particular area, we utilize this process to ensure that that student gets more so that they can get the skills needed to be successful with on-grade level work or become on-grade level proficient. Same thing for the other end of the spectrum. If a student is demonstrating that the rigor of the class isn't rigorous enough or challenging enough, it provides us the opportunity to say, hey, that kiddo, based on holistic data, may need something more, like an accelerated math course or an accelerated English language arts course. It also ties into social emotional behavior or health. So if a student is demonstrating to us they need a little bit more support to access the general education curriculum and do well from a behavioral standpoint, we have supports and obligations in place to put those supports to help remediate or enrich that student's skills so that they're more successful. So some things that are part of this phase 2 grant, MTSS personnel, that's 9 additional staff. So who is considered MTSS personnel? So at the elementary level, that is, we are completing those schools who currently do not have an elementary school counselor. They will have an elementary school counselor for this grant. This will fund those additional school counselors. At the middle school level, we are providing additional instructional coaches, 1 per building, to help facilitate both intervention for students as well as be data specialists to help coordinate and quarterback MTSS processes. And then at the high school level, you're looking at an additional school social worker to support their work as grade level support teams there at the high school level. So those are a total of 9 additional staff members that we currently have posted and are looking to hire for the start of next school year. We're looking at tutoring supports by level. And in a moment, I'll invite Mr. Blum, Dr. Seaver, and Dr. Thorpe to come up and talk a little bit more about the specific implications of this grant per level. But we do and are exploring tutoring different models and partnerships by level for what we're calling high impact tutoring, targeted tiered reading intervention through readable English and rewards supplemental curriculum programs. You approved this evening that partnership with the National Institute of Excellence in Teaching Partnership. That's really a tier 1 or general education or school-wide initiative. Branching Minds, you approved that this evening. Again, that initiative is to help us with MTSS from that early warning system and make sure we have what we call kind of those safety nets, if you will. If kids are saying they need more, that's the process that we're going to utilize to track and be more responsive to their needs. Education elements, you approved that tonight. That's to assist with the strategic plan implementation. And then Section 127 was a partnership the district did years ago when we created the new brand of the new Washington Township logo. They are going to come back and they will help with this process called the Panther Family Guide, which will be more explicit to you in the community in July 23rd when we're talking about community and connection as it relates to our strategic plan draft currently at the moment. So I'm going to invite Mr. Blom, Dr. Thorpe, and Dr. Seaver to come up and speak a little bit more explicitly about their level impacts.
So 2 years ago, we received grant funding that allowed us to pilot elementary school counselors in 2 of our buildings. That went so well that 2 of our other schools the following year chose to fill vacancies from other areas with school counselors. And this is going to allow us now to add 4 more. So this fall, we'll have school counselors in all 8 elementary schools. The principals met earlier today with Jen Dodson and myself to talk through the plan in terms of recruiting, evaluating, and then assigning those and hiring those for each of those buildings. Ms. Smith has been great in earmarking funds for tutoring, after school tutoring for elementaries, but we're going through those funds. We have several schools who were close to or ran out of money, and we had to find other funds to get through the end of the school year. And so we'll be utilizing funds to be able to do that right out of the gate in August, which again, really specifically targeting especially our 2nd and 3rd graders in reference to that earlier conversation about iRead. The NIET that you guys approved earlier that's been at work at North Central and Northview, we will be working with them at Greenbrier Elementary School to shore up some systems there. And that actually starts tomorrow. We have an all-day training tomorrow with their instructional leadership team. So we're really excited to get that off the ground. And then finally, as was mentioned earlier, Branching Minds, K-12, Allisonville will be helping to pilot that in the fall. And Mary Beth Reffett, the principal there, had previously, years back, been our RTI coordinator. So she's got some expertise in that area, so she can help us navigate that platform and then provide any feedback to help to make sure we're ready to utilize it at a high level this school year.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Or do you want me to wait till the end then?
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't think I knew about the counselor thing. I think we all kind of have an idea of what a counselor does at high school and middle school. What do they do at the elementary level?
So the elementary, and we've had school social workers in our buildings. And so the best description that I've been given is our school social workers ideally would be doing more of what we would consider tier 3, family supports, connecting families with community partners when there's a need that is maybe impacting, whether it's housing or food insecurity or clothing, something of that nature. The next level, which is more of a tier 2, is more of the social emotional support, students that are struggling with any number of reasons that there might be anxieties or social dynamics within a school, things like that. And so the counselors actually push into classrooms and provide certain lessons throughout the school year that are age appropriate. So it looks different for kindergarten first, it does to 5th grade. You know, we start to have social dramas and things like that. And so they try to help make sure that we're proactively addressing those. And so it's not getting in the way of academics.
That helps a lot. See, and I know there's been some tension with the social workers of how much am I supposed to be doing social work versus how much am I supposed to be like assisting with these kind of like more behavioral, social, emotional interventions. So that's
Really the best part of being able to pilot that at Willow Lake and Fox Hill a couple of years ago is we weren't really sure. And that dynamic played out so well and was so impactful that the principals have said they don't know what they would do without them now.
So one question I have, so we're going to use this grant to supplement for the 4 remaining schools that don't have counselors, but you mentioned that I think this past school year, 2 elementary schools decided to forego other positions to instead hire counselors. So will they get?
Yes, they will. And so, yep. So all 8 elementary schools will have their full team back together. Yep.
I'm sorry, one more question. I mean, obviously when you have grant funding, you worry about what about when it runs out? How many years of these counselors is going to be funded by this?
5 years, and that's part of the conversation up front. But knowing that this is a commitment that we want to make, if we see the impact, to try to seek funding in the future to maintain.
So at the middle level, we are hiring MTSS coaches. We currently have MTSS teams in all of our buildings. But as Mr. Blom said, we are working on a systemic, I guess, platform for what we see in all of our buildings. So we're super excited to add those coaches to help us look at the data for academics, behavior, and social emotional support. Then also to help support literacy, we have a couple of things here. We have one that is readable English. We have that currently in our schools, but not all of our schools. So this is a support to help break down words for our ENL and special education population. So they learn ways to decode so that they can learn how to read. It's a tier 3 intervention. And then also we're looking at rewards, which is another tier 3 intervention. This is for students that struggle with reading, fluency, comprehension, breaking down big words and making them smaller. The rewards program is more of a one-on-one with our media specialist, whereas Readable English is an online program along with teacher support. And then we're also looking at tutoring. We know that in the past we had a really robust tutoring program. This year it's been kind of difficult because funding has been not as much as it was when we had ESSER money. So we are looking at providing tutoring with our teachers, our IAs. Spoke with the principal today. We're talking about identifying students that need additional support and possibly doing like some one-on-one tutoring, some 4-on-1 tutoring. We've also taken a look at AI support. We found a really great math tutoring IA program or AI program that is a potential. And then also we're going to continue working with NIET. We've seen some great results at Northview, and we want to continue with that partnership. So any questions? Thank you.
And then at the high school level, a lot of this will look similar. One difference is that rather than having an MTSS coach or coordinator in collaboration with Mr. Brent and the high school team, we determined that an additional school social worker was really necessary to improve academic achievement. Because our school social workers are providing that tier 3 support. We have lots of students and families that benefit from those more intensive services that a school social worker is able to provide. So we're really excited about the ability to add that additional person to our team. That person will also work closely with True North. Right now, we haven't had as much school social worker support at True North, and so that position will be split between North Central and True North. Dr. Thorpe spoke to Readable English. That's really getting our multilingual learners' motors running. We know that oral language production is a huge piece of language development, and Readable English helps with that tremendously. Rewards we will use on an as-needed basis at the high school level based on our diagnostic data. It's probably most useful for students with interrupted formal education because it is such an intensive reading intervention for students that are reading 2 to 3 grade levels behind. And then tutoring, we're thrilled about having additional tutoring supports. As Mr. Blom mentioned, we always use the money that Mrs. Smith gives us for tutoring. So we're happy to add to that pot and provide multiple different access points for tutoring, whether it be the AI tutoring, virtual tutoring, and also being able to fund some of our wonderful Learning Center tutors that work with students during the school day. If they're interested in tutoring students after school, we'll be able to fund that as well. And then we spoke already this evening about NIET, but the North Central team is thrilled to be able to continue that partnership.
So now we move into phase 3, which is $37.5 million. As I stated earlier, concept paper has been approved. We are now working on our timeline for getting back into draft mode with Advancing Public Ed LLC with Glenda Ritz and team. So we got a busy summer for lots of reasons, but that's certainly one of them. Some things that we're looking at relative to this grant that were approved in the concept paper, we're continuing the expansion of mental health support, uh, Panther Youth Performing Arts Center, looking at the current Washington Township Service Center, the old Northview Middle School. It has an auditorium in there. Not part of that project was renovation to that auditorium. We want to generate some funds that can renovate that and make that a source of community pride and access for our elementary music teachers to use for plays, musicals, etc. We want to look at expanding our Get Your Teach On partnership. We have learned a lot. We've grown a lot. We've seen positive results out of that partnership out of Spring Mill, and think we have a beautiful opportunity to continue to grow that urgency of solid instructional tier 1 practices across our elementary schools. Looking at technology access and equipment upgrades for STEM related pieces. Center for Leadership Development partnership. That's been a small partnership in the past, but we want to expand that so more students have opportunities for leadership growth. Center for Panther Pathways. That's just looking at more opportunity for us to accelerate work-based learning opportunities for our students. Science and math enhancements and STEM professional development. Would love to, particularly in the secondary space, increase STEM certifications and STEM access for our students, and then bilingual program expansion as well. And so that's all kind of under this theme or focus of phase 3, which is this full steam ahead notion. So all of our investments would be growing our Panthers full steam ahead, and that's relative to science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics. And so we will proceed with getting more structure and more concrete details in proposal form, and I'll continue to update the board and community as we proceed down this road. So with that, I'm happy to open that up to any questions. Again, phase 3 app is due August 25th, but we won't know our success on that grant likely until December.
And this is competitive. So like the other two were not competitive. They were kind of like you do Lily Likes, they give you the money, but this one you're competing against other school districts.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so the first competition was concept paper approval.
Yep.
And then you had to get invited to go ahead and proceed with your proposal, which we just got some updated documents and timelines this week relative to that. And so, yes, it is a competitive grant.
And not a question, but a comment. Just thank you for you and the entire team. I know this is a lot of work in addition to strategic plan, transitioning into a new superintendent role. So just great job and thank you.
Also beautiful alignment.
Yeah.
Ms. Fry?
Just purely out of curiosity, do you know how many districts were invited to do the full phase 3 proposal?
I don't have that data yet. Dr. Woodson, I don't know if you've talked to other Marion County
Students
students.
in from superintendent groups have all received the invite. I don't
Yeah.
know that I've had one say that they did not.
Just curious.
Other questions, board? I do have one question going back to phase 2. Phase 2 is listed as a planning grant, correct? So you're planning to improve literacy with that particular grant, but phase 3 is not necessarily connected to the planning grant. So the planning grant, you'd have to go, if it's successful, if literacy improves, then we have to find the money to continue it?
Now, we have to find the money to continue and sustain, like for those positions, we have to find the money to sustain that regardless of our success on it or not.
So it's
At the conclusion of 5 years.
it's kind of,
The money's for 5 years.
yeah, it's not really a planning grant because you're not going to take. Well, anyway, that's just me. I was just looking at the wording of it, and I see what you're trying to do. And then the phase 3 does not even touch that. So on now, skipping to phase 3. So the next, can you go to that next to last slide? So I can read. Okay, so what?
You want to read it?
No, he's got it up here. Besides, that's too small. So what we've been talking about earlier today, when we talked about the cuts and everything happening, and especially not even just the cuts, but the math piece, advancing into different math. So in that science and math enhancements piece, we didn't know about what the state was going to do. would there be something in there that could help with some of the conversation around giving extra supports to try to help the students? I'm just trying to see if that could also help cover what the state might cause us to have to do.
It certainly could.
Okay.
It certainly could. We
I know you
expect- we
haven't-
expect it to.
Yeah, we didn't know it at the time that you were putting this together. Okay, it was just a me kind of question. Any other questions, board? Thank you very much. Thank you to the team. Thanks for ending with a really kind of decent
It
message.
was a better info item to go second than.
Yeah. And as we close down the meeting, and Dr. Whitson, we tried to make this as long as possible for your last. The special events liaison reports, any reports that you want to give out?
We all did graduation. It was amazing.
Yep.
It was my 15th anniversary from graduating from high school. So
You
it's
can
kinda cool.
stop talking about
I know.
that. I mean, really.
I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but it was so
yeah, Billy,
cool.
you signed my diploma. Yeah, that's really makes me feel good. Yeah, I think that was really good. Anything else? Obviously, graduation.
We all went to W Awards.
Where-
It
Yes.
was wonderful.
Fabulous.
It's amazing.
Fabulous.
We had the new addition of our legislators there.
Mhm.
Mr. Thompson and I attended the ISBA regional meeting
Dr. Taylor.
a few weeks ago, which was good because it was a preview of some of what we did tonight. And I did Blast Off too. I volunteered at Blast Off. That was super fun because I was there until 2 a.m. because my game was busy. Like I was like busy the whole time. And then I had an 8:30 a.m. mediation the next day for work. So, but it was actually, I do want to say, the really cool thing about Blast Off, and I get, it's self-selected who comes, but like the level of respectfulness that those kids showed, like especially like they just graduated, like they didn't care about respecting us anymore. It was really amazing. A lot of the kids, everybody was so good, but some of the kids quickly figured out that the game I was manning was easier to rack up stickers at than some of the other games, which hey, good for them for figuring it out. So there were a handful of kids who kind of caught on to that, and so they wanted to do it over and over and over again. And I was like, sure, I don't care, but every single one of them who was like that and figured it out was not pushy. They made sure to wait till there wasn't a line. If they were doing it repeatedly and some other kids came up, they were super respectful. There were 2 boys and they were delightful who were doing that. And I was like, after a while, I was like, okay. I was like, I'm not gonna let you play again until you go over to the inflatable obstacle course, because it was a race, and you race each other, and then you come back and you tell me who won. And they're like, okay. And it was just, again, these are 18-year-old kids who honestly don't have to feel obligated to respect us anymore. And I just honestly, I was blown away by the respect that the kids were just showing each other and showing the parents and showing administrators. And Mr. Rhett was there till 2 a.m., Mr. Brewer, a lot of, of folks. So seeing that many staff willing to do that too. Sorry, I could go on and on, but I did want to share just how amazingly blown away I was by the conduct and respect of the kids.
Anything?
I got to speak with the Crooked Creek 5th graders, so I got invited to speak to and so that was really, really cool too, and to send them off to middle school. So
Yeah, soon they'll be saying they have your signature on it.
they will be. I'm excited.
I also I encourage Mr. Thompson to continue ribbing us about his youth every day, all day. I love it.
Yeah, because you're not as old. So the one thing I will add, and this is kind of a kudos to, so as the liaison to the community coalition, we met, and Mr. Thompson was there. One thing I wanted to say in general is Dr. Pettigrew and Mrs. Haslett continuing that work. I think leaving that, and a lot of you, well, not a lot of you, but several of you were there, right? For them to make sure that it's a workable coalition and how to get them integrated more integrated into what the schools do, and having the schools try to figure out how to utilize the community. I thought it was a very good meeting, but I was wondering where it was going to go. But I think unless they said something afterwards to a person, they all want to continue it. And they're talking about obviously figuring out a way to maybe focus on one part of the new strategic plan and that be their focus. I thought it was good. But I think it comes down to Dr. Pettigrew and Mrs. Haslett continuing to lead that group. So I just want to do that shout out to them and the coalition members. And as we were talking about what I didn't bring up, I think Mr. Blom, what I didn't bring up is that we have a community coalition member who actually works at IU. Well, what is it called? IU Indianapolis. Teaches council. I mean, that's what what she does. And so, not only is she a coalition member, but maybe you can plug into helping to find, future counselors. So just want to give a shout out to them. And then the only other thing, anything else from the board? Go Pacers. I gotta say that. I mean, other than that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Ayes? Ayes have
Aye.
it. Motion adjourned.